Hello everybody, my name is Nicola and welcome back to my channel. This is the Frugal Cottage where we talk all things money to help you on your financial journey. Today's video is all about how to save for a house deposit. Don't forget to like and subscribe and let's get started. So, one of the biggest financial aims that you might have is to buy a house, and for that you need a house deposit. And especially if you're kind of on the first steps in employment, a house deposit can seem like such an impossible task. Hopefully today's video will give you some hints and tips on how to approach saving that big amount of money towards investing in your first property for your home. The first thing that I suggest you do is to look at house prices in the area that you want to live in. It will give you a general idea of the kind of expense that you are looking at, but also gives you the tools to work out just what kind of house deposit you might need to save for. So go on a house owner site such as Rightmove, look in the area. If you want to specify the number of bedrooms or whatever, you can, and then have a look at the prices. There will be a very varying range of prices. You need to work out just how much you can afford. There are mortgage calculators on different sites, banks do them for example, so once you've found a house that you like, input there to see what kind of mortgage payment you would be looking at. But if you find kind of a general price that you might buy a house for, then you can work out what you need as your house deposit. Now, you used to be able to get a house by putting a 5% deposit down, but that is becoming increasingly rare and more difficult to do. And that's because 5% of the total house value in terms of the bank is not the biggest number, and banks like a bit more security about the deposit than perhaps they have done in the past, especially at the moment they kind of changed the rules a bit. So you are aiming for at least a 10% deposit, more if you can. In fact, as much as you possibly can will stand you in good stead. The bigger your deposit, the better kind of loan you might get in terms of interest rate. It depends. The bigger your deposit, the better off you'll be, because A, you're not borrowing as much money, but B, they give you better interest rates on that mortgage, especially if you're going to get a fixed term rate for the first 2 years. So aim for at least 10%. Maybe as a starting point, but then see if you can stretch that as you get closer to that. Once you've got that 10%, that can be your target amount for your house deposit. Once you've set that amount, you can then work out some kind of timeline for when you want to achieve that by. Again, at this point you need to be realistic. There's no point saying, I'm going to save £20,000 in a house deposit, I'm going to do it in 1 year, I only earn £21,000 a year. Because that's not achievable, it's not realistic. You're going to fail at the first hurdle and then probably give up in the process, and nobody wants that. So be realistic in your goal and how long it might take you. You're going to need to go and look back at your budget, see if that all still works out, see how much you can divert to your house deposit savings, see if there's any areas you can cut back on even in the short term whilst you are aiming at this big aim. Because let's be honest, the house deposit is going to be one of the biggest things you save for, and it always seems to be you have to do it in your 20s when loads of people haven't got a clue about anything because you just starting your first job, you might have moved out, you've got to learn all this new stuff, and you're supposed to save all this money for a house deposit as well. It can be tough, but you need to look at your timeline. So say 2 years or 3 years. Give yourself a realistic time frame to do this in, and then set a target. Once you set your target and your time frame, you can then give yourself a monthly target to aim for. So your monthly target might be, I'm going to put £500 per month into my house deposit fund. I'm going to put £500 into my house deposit savings every month, and be consistent about that. And then if you get more than that in a month, then great, add it in there as well. But if you are aiming for this timeline and you've got a goal in mind, you need to be putting in kind of a minimum amount every month, and then work out how to increase that. So you might sell some things, you might get rid of some things, you might cut more things from your budget so that you can increase your monthly savings so that you get to your target quicker. But you need to give yourself a monthly aim. If you follow my channel, you'll know that even now I set myself monthly aims every month. so that I know that I'm hitting my targets every month, but I'm also working towards my yearly targets and then our really long-term targets by setting myself those monthly targets in the same way. Have a look through my channel. I set them every month. It might give you some inspiration for your own monthly targets. The next thing to maybe suggest is to use a visual aid. So maybe like print out a picture of the kind of house you're saving for and have it in a really obvious place. You might want to use a savings tracker. So in my budget planner, and I'll leave a link below to my Etsy shop, I have a savings tracker page where I can colour in as I go along my savings goal during the month. Lots of people find savings trackers really motivational, especially when you can colour bits in so you're getting closer and closer. But have that kind of motivational picture, if you like, somewhere so that it stays in your mind, but it also gives you that bit of a kind of boost when times get tough, because there's always going to be highs and lows during this journey when it seems like you're not progressing fast enough, or it might seem like it's impossible because you've got so far to go. Have something there to motivate you, such as the picture or the tracker. It will help over time. And talking of that, so celebrate the milestones. So when you get to the first 6 months of your savings journey, celebrate that you've managed to save towards your house deposit for 6 months in a row, because that's a big achievement. You know, life sometimes gets in the way, things aren't as easy as they should be, but celebrate the little milestones. If you get to a year and you've saved consistently, celebrate that. Celebrate when you get halfway to your target. Celebrate the milestones as you go along, because that will again link into motivating you to continue this journey of saving for your house deposit, because it is a longer term goal. It's not going to be quick unless you are given money from somebody or you happen to get lots of money quickly. Saving for a house deposit is a long term goal. Probably takes 2 to 3 years. It took us for our house deposit, I think it took us nearly 3 years to save for ours, and we were very consistent and very focused on that goal, and it still took that amount of time. So celebrate the little wins along the way, because that will really help you in terms of your progress and wanting to keep continuing on, and not just going and blowing it on a massive shopping spree on night out. And finally, and I guess this comes when you've got your house deposit and you are at the next stage and you're going to go and purchase your house and you've got it there. One thing, take a screenshot of your bank account, because I tell you what, when you transfer your house deposit into your current account, that's probably the most money you're ever going to have in that account in one go. I took a screenshot of ours because we're never going to have that much money in one go ever again, in the current account anyway. So once you've done that, you need to remember that there are extra costs involved when buying a house. You're going to need to pay the bank fees, you're going to need to pay solicitor fees, you might need to get some surveys done. Don't forget to factor in those extra costs. I have got a video coming up about the extra costs involved when buying a house, but there are numerous ones that you need to kind of watch out for and prepare for, because they need to be paid up front most of the time. So that might need to be an extra little savings spot once you've got your house deposit sorted and you are ready to go on in that journey. And then once you've got your house and you've got a new mortgage, don't forget to think about overpaying so that you save yourself some money. I'll leave a link below to the how to pay your mortgage off early, because if you do that first, in the first couple of years, you save so much money by doing that as soon as you get your mortgage. But that's another video. Like I said, I'll leave it down below. So there are some ways about how to save for a house deposit. You need to work out an aim and work out a timeline. You need to really prioritise that in your budget. So go back and look in your budget and put it in there. You need to give yourself monthly targets to make sure you're staying on track. Celebrate the wins as you go along. Use some kind of visual motivational tool to help you, whether it's a savings tracker, a picture of the house you want to buy, something that motivates you, and you need to decide what that is. And then at the end of the journey, don't forget to factor in all those fees that unfortunately come with buying a house. Do you agree with everything that I said? Have I missed anything out? Let me know in the comments below if you think I've missed anything out on the way to saving for a house deposit. And enjoy the journey, because it's going to take a bit of time, but imagine that end goal when you've made it. As always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you again very soon.